Here we go, y'all. Thank you again for making the time tonight. Super excited to be in your company. My name is Jessica Maravilla. I am the policy director at the ACLU of Oregon. Again, just please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat, add your name and your pronouns. And before we tell you all about the exciting items that we have for you today, I'd like us to get a little grounded today and just some group agreements. You did receive this in the email, but we'll briefly touch on it today. For us in this space, we each will respect and contribute to the ACLU's culture of belonging by fostering an equitable and exclusive experience in all aspects of community work by centering Black, Indigenous, people of color, really our BIPOC voices and experiences. And this will look like listening to understand, speaking my truth responsibly. And for our white folks joining us today, our white communities and other privileged identities, to not put the burden on BIPOC and other oppressed groups to educate us about the harm that your actions and behavior created, being willing to do things differently and really experience discomfort and seeing discomfort and tensions as an opportunity for growth and not a barrier to it. So again, thank you for your willingness to be here with us today and really honoring this space with these community agreements. With that, we'll also move. Today, we'd like to acknowledge, although we are gathered virtually, all of us are existing on stolen land where a valued and rich Indigenous culture has been hurt by the impacts of colonization. Where many of us reside in present-day Portland is located on the traditional village sites of the Multnomah, Wasco, Cowlitz, Kalamita, Clackamas, bands of Chinook, Tualatin, the Kayupuya, Malala, and really many other tribes who've made their homes along the Columbia and Willamette River. So let us acknowledge the robust Native communities made up of tribal diversity that originates from around the country and whose journeys have been brought them to Portland by ways of forced displacement or seeking opportunities. So today, these same communities celebrate their heritage, showing resilience and tenacity that would be greatly admired by their ancestors. Please consider visiting one of our Native organizations' websites to really learn more and really engage in the important work that they're doing and join them in those efforts. We will have some links for you all as well so that you have that opportunity. Awesome. So I'd also like to provide some notes related to Zoom today. So this event will be recorded and will be available on our website tomorrow. So please feel free to share the recording with friends and family. And before, again, we get started, I'd like to thank our captioner, Julene Bahada from LNS Captioning, and our ASL interpreters, Brandon Heaps and Carrie Moore from Mosaic Interpreter. Thank you so much for being with us tonight and making this accessible to all. If you also prefer to have the interpreter's window large and the rest of the participants' window much smaller, you can use the pin feature to keep one window larger than the rest. And then if you need any Zoom or tech support today, please write on the chat function or text. Our colleague Mariana, you'll see her email and really her phone number on there. She'll be our tech support today. This was different than what was emailed previously. So it's not the same phone number. So feel free to capture that in case you do have any technical difficulties that we can support you with. Awesome. So all the really good stuff gotten started. Now I'd like to share what you can expect during today's lobby day. So we will hear from some amazing leaders, including our very own partner from Next Up Action Fund Executive Director, Alona Wilson, and our very own Deputy Director at the ACLU of Oregon. So super excited to hear too about Yvonne Garcia. So thanks for joining us today. They are doing amazing work and we're just glad that they can share the space with us tonight. We will go over our policy priorities for this legislative session, and we will hear from our special and legislative champion, Senator Campos. So it's a great treat to have her today. We will have a lobbying 101 training. So if you didn't get a chance to look at the materials that we sent before, we'll still have an opportunity today to just learn about the most effective ways of engaging with your legislators, including how to engage with them directly today. So we want to make sure that the meetings that we have with our legislators today are successful. And then most importantly, we will hold legislator meetings from about 4 to 5:30 p.m. And you will have the opportunity to have small group meetings of about 15 minutes with each legislator. You will be able to have a space where you can come together and practice that before you have that meeting. And then during this time, you will have the opportunity again to put those lobbying 101 skills into practice and to advocate for bills that advance justice and equity for all Oregonians. And then lastly, at about 5:15, we organized an action alert. So an email blast at the start of this portion, you will be provided with more information and instructions once we get to that. So with that, it is my pleasure to introduce into the space next up's Executive Director, Alana Wilson, and ACLU of Oregon Deputy Director, Yvonne Garcia.
Thank you, Jessica. I will start. So hello, everyone. My name is Ilana J. Wilson. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Executive Director of Next Up Action Fund, a proud partner of this Lobby Day. At Next Up Action Fund, our mission is to build political power with diverse young people to achieve a more just and equitable Oregon. And as an organization that builds political power and strong, effective leadership pipelines for diverse young people, our work in our communities are greatly impacted by the policies being advocated for today. Growing up in Oregon, I always thought that the legislature in Salem wasn't a place for me. The fancy suits, the big words, it wasn't a place I could see myself. That was until I was told that the Capitol is for we the people. It's for all of us. And those fancy looking clothes, those fancy looking lawmakers also work for us. The legislature is supposed to be for all of us. And though this country was not created for all of us, we can intentionally rebuild it for all of us. At Next Up, we've been working to ensure that the voices who have been historically and are currently left out are heard at last. We've done this through passing bills like automatic voter registration, which automatically registered over 500,000 Oregonians. We also passed pre-registration for 16 and 17-year-olds, which was done in partnership with the ACLU of Oregon. We passed paid postage, which makes all mailboxes drop boxes, which is really exciting. We've done a whole lot more, and there's still so much work to be done. So I want to welcome you into this space and thank you for being a part of building an Oregon that is truly for every single one of us. Now I would like to pass it to Deputy Director Yvonne Garcia.
Thank you so much, Alana. My name is Yvonne Garcia. I use pronouns she and her, and I am the Deputy Director at the ACLU of Oregon. Welcome, everyone, to our 2023 Lobby Day event in collaboration with our partner, Next Up. The ACLU of Oregon works to protect and expand civil liberties and civil rights for all Oregonians. We do this work in the courts, in communities, and in the legislature. I want to thank our amazing policy team for leading and guiding our legislative work and centering racial justice values and community members most impacted. Thank you also for hosting a Lobby Day, as it is an opportunity to create access for more people to engage in a system that has deep and long-lasting impacts on all of us. And thank you to all of our attendees and lobby leads for your participation today, which is so critical and valued. The legislative process is not very intuitive and often not accessible to many of us as community members. Your attendance today is an excellent way to learn more about the process, practice how to provide testimony on issues that matter most to you, and to speak directly with your legislative leaders. Your participation is an important and powerful way to be engaged. We hope that one of the takeaways from this event and experience will be to pass along the knowledge to others in your communities so they too can be involved in the legislative process. Our voices have not always been heard or even invited to inform the development of laws that determine our ability to live fully as Oregon residents. So let's build our collective voices and presence in this process to make Oregon a safe, healthy, and vibrant community for all of us. Thank you again for being with us today, for taking the time to speak up as an advocate for critical issues that impact our freedoms and democracy. And thank you for working with us to create an Oregon of greater justice, equity, and care.
Thank you, Ilana, and thank you, Yvonne, for reminding us that we, the people, can rebuild Oregon and the importance of our voice during the legislative process. My name is Mariana Garcia Medina, she, her pronouns, and I'm the Senior Policy Associate with the ACLU of Oregon. We are now excited to go over our top priorities for this session that we will be lobbying today. First, I want to talk about two important bills. With the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, it took away our federal constitutional rights to abortion and a talk to bodily autonomy and reproductive freedom. And this decision has opened the doors for anti-abortion attacks across the country, even in an effort to ban abortion nationwide and criminalize it. But it has also opened the door to many anti-trans attacks to our trans community. Let's make it clear that no one should be forced to carry a pregnancy against their will and face life-altering consequences of being denied essential health care. While Oregon has broad legal protections of abortion and gender-affirming care, we have more work to do to ensure safe, equitable, and continuing protections and access across our state. Our rights are under attack, and we must fight back together. We are fighting back in Oregon with two important bills this session with our partners, Basic Rights Oregon, Planned Parenthood Advocates of Oregon, as well as many other partners across the state. The first bill that I quickly want to talk about is House Bill 2002. This is the Reproductive Health and Access to Care legislative package that will codify our right to the full spectrum of reproductive health care, expand access for gender-affirming care and reproductive health care, and create protections for patients and providers. This bill has passed the Ways and Means Committee and is off to a House floor vote soon. The second bill that we are proudly supporting and just launched a campaign for last week is SJR 33, a ballot referral bill for a constitutional amendment that will affirm and protect equal rights in Oregon by making sure that the current language in our Constitution explicitly covers gender identity, sexual orientation, and the right to ensure that we can make our own decisions about our reproductive health and gender-related health care, including abortion, gender-affirming care, and marriage. The bill just had its first hearing in the Senate Rules Committee yesterday and will have a vote tomorrow. If passed, Oregonians will be given the opportunity to vote on the measure in the November 2024 general election. It'll be an important opportunity for Oregonians to speak our values into action through our state constitution. Now I'll pass it on to Jessica Maravilla, who will share two other of our priorities.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mariana. I hope you all are excited. Those are two very, very important bills that are happening here in our very own state as we lead the nation. At the ACLU of Oregon, we also believe that no one in Oregon should face criminal charges without access to legal support. Unfortunately, our public defense system is in crisis, and many do not have legal representation. In some of the last hearings, we heard that on any given day, we have approximately 800 people who do not have their constitutional right being practiced, and they don't have legal representation. So for that, we are supporting House Bill 2467 and Senate Bill 337, which will ensure better access to legal representation by stabilizing and growing the workforce, by creating a state program to supplement local resources where it's most needed, and really including impacted individuals' voices in policy decisions related to public defense, and restructuring our Oregon Public Defense Commission to be housed in the executive branch, which would facilitate several of the administrative issues we have seen lately. Senate Bill 337 is currently in rules and will be going to Ways and Means, and House Bill 2467 is currently in Ways and Means, and we need your support to make sure that these bills are funded and passed out of joint Ways and Means. So you'll see several action alerts that we're advocating for on this bill, and we really hope that legislators will make this a priority, as we have seen that is impacting our communities right now in a very dramatic and severe way. Another bill that we're excited to be advocating for and pushing forth this legislative session is Senate Bill 786, the Opportunity to Serve Act. So Oregon needs elected officials who reflect the communities they serve to collaborate on community solutions and really stay in touch with constituents year round. Despite being paid part-time salaries, legislators make a full-time commitment to really best serve our communities. And Oregon's legislator salaries are among the lowest in the country. And these low salaries contribute to inequities of underrepresented candidates and communities. Senate Bill 786, the Opportunity to Serve Bill, will raise legislative compensation and will improve the quality and the diversity of representation in the Capitol, benefiting all Oregonians. Senate Bill 786 is currently in the Senate rules, and will likely be heard. We're working very hard to have a hearing in the next couple weeks, and we need your support again to get it out, to get that hearing and get it out of Ways and Means, because it will take some funding. So with that, I'd like to introduce to you Isabela Villarreal, who we have the pleasure of working closely on the Guaranteeing the Right to Vote bill, and who's also the policy director for today and co-sponsor and championing of today's lobby day. So Isabela, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, Jessica. Hi, everyone. Isabela here. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Policy and Communications Director with Next Step Action Fund. I'm super excited to talk to you all about Guaranteeing the Right to Vote, which is Senate Bill 579. We know that all Oregonians should have a say in what happens in their community and a voice in their government. The right to vote is enshrined in our Constitution and fundamental to a vibrant and participatory democracy. But right now, around 12,000 people that are currently incarcerated in Oregon are denied their right to vote, leading to the disproportionate disenfranchisement of Black, Indigenous, and Latinx and low-income people. This is why we're working to pass Senate Bill 579, Guaranteeing the Right to Vote, which will ensure that all incarcerated Oregonians can register to vote, update their voter registration, and vote in elections based on where they resided prior to incarceration. This is the third session that we're reintroducing this bill, and this bill is currently in the Ways and Means Committee, which is the Budget Committee, and we are working to get it fully funded to pass out. And we need your help as well to get that done. Now I will pass to Emily.
Thank you, Isabela. We are so honored to work with Next Step on Senate Bill 579, Guaranteeing the Right to Vote, and House Bill 2650, Equitable Work Groups. Everyone, my name is Emily Hawley, and I'm the new Senior Policy Associate with the ACLU of Oregon team. We'll be sending the one-pager with all our top priorities in the chat. Looks like Jude is on that. I have the great pleasure to introduce Senator Campos, a fearless champion and legislator. Only 24 at the time of her election, Senator Campos is one of the youngest state legislators in the United States and the youngest in the state of Oregon. A proud daughter of immigrants, she was confronted as a child with the disparity between those who were afforded opportunities and those who were not, regardless of how hard they worked. This perspective informed her work as a state representative, state senator, and also in her role as a case manager for Family Promise of Beaverton, where she currently helps families experiencing homelessness find their new homes. So let me welcome Senator Campos. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily, for that introduction. Good afternoon. As mentioned, my name is Winsve Campos. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the state senator for Senate District 18, which covers Aloha, Beaverton, Hillsborough, and parts of unincorporated Washington County. And I am so excited to be joining y'all virtually today. I have served as a longtime board member for Next Step and have worked closely with the ACLU as a legislator, and I'm a big supporter of both organizations. So very happy to be here. Your voices being represented at the Capitol is so incredibly important, and I want to thank you all so much for showing up and for speaking your truth to power in an environment that we know was not built to be accessible to all Oregonians. The experiences that folks share in the conversations they have with legislators, they matter. Your voices matter, and you deserve to be heard by your elected representatives. So I just wanted to take that moment to acknowledge that the time that you are all taking out of your day to be here and to participate in this. I'm so proud to be supportive of a number of different pieces of legislation that both organizations here are supporting in one way or the other, whether as an endorsement or on the priority agenda, including a couple of pieces of legislation I myself have introduced: Senate Bill 610, Food for All Oregonians, and Senate Bill 611, the Rent Inflation Emergency Relief Bill. I'm also a huge supporter of, just the entire agendas that have been shared here, but in particular, Senate Bill 786, which, as mentioned, would improve the quality and diversity of democratic representation in this building by ensuring that legislators are paid a livable wage. And I would say that this is one that that is particularly important to my office. As noted, I am on the young side of folks in this building. When first elected, I was 24. I'm 27 now and still the youngest in this building. Not only that, I am the only woman of color in the Senate. And so I look around and I say, we've got more work to do to make sure that these spaces are accessible so that folks are adequately represented in this building. And then very much supportive of Senate Bill 579, expanding access to democracy by restoring voting rights for people in prisons. I ran for office to do what I could to fight to make a real difference in the lives of vulnerable Oregonians, and the bills that y'all are supporting today, that y'all are discussing, are powerful examples of the way that the legislature can do just that, fight to uplift Oregonians who need it the most. And as you have your conversations with legislators, I encourage you all to be open and honest with the legislators you meet with about the impact that these pieces of legislation will have on your communities, because it really does make a difference to us when we hear from people who are directly impacted, who have ties to these issues. Oregonians deserve to be able to meet their basic needs, to participate fully in their democracy, and to get the help that they need to thrive. So again, thank you all so much for your time today and your advocacy, and thank you for having me. Good luck, and I hope you all have a great afternoon.
Thank you so much, Senator, for making the time. We appreciate all the work that you do, and you may be one of the youngest, but you're definitely one of the brightest too. So just appreciate all the collaboration. Awesome. So with that, we are going to go into our Lobbying 101 training. So if I can invite Isabella back into the space to lead us in Lobbying 101.
Hi, everyone. Isabella here again, she, her pronouns, policy and comms director at Next Step Action Fund. Super excited to take you through a little bit of Lobbying 101 and why we do it, how we do it, and getting you all set up to meet with lawmakers today and hopefully into the future. Can we go to the next slide, please? Awesome. So thank you to all the community organizations we partner with for the important work they do and for sharing lobbying content with us. Shout out to Forward Together Action, Next Step Action Fund ourselves, and Unite Oregon. Next slide, please. So why lobbying? At the end of the day, our whole goal, right, is to help transform our communities and make sure that everyone has the resources they need to thrive. And lobbying is one way that we can get to that goal. It's simply a tactic of ensuring that lawmakers are accountable to our communities, they understand the problems that we're facing and the solutions that we have to fix them. So we're really trying to shift power and create power, and it's really our ability to make change. And that's why we're all here today, right? To talk to our legislators, make sure they know that what our priorities are, why we care about them, how this will impact our lives or our communities' lives, and just ensure that they hear our stories and understand the importance of passing these bills. Next slide, please. So the recipe of how you lobby in a meeting is pretty straightforward. The first step is identifying yourself and how you're connected to a particular issue, illustrating the problem, advocating for the solution, and then doing a very specific call to action or demand to action from the legislator. Next slide, please. So we'll go in a little bit more depth for each of these. So defining the problem. So thinking about what is the problem? How does it impact communities? Why is this important? You know, we heard a lot of amazing bills today, from reproductive health care to guaranteeing the right to vote to, you know, raising legislator pay. These are all specific legislative concepts that are addressing a very clear problem that we've outlined. And we just encourage you to, you know, root into that problem and solution. Next slide, please. So what is the solution and why? Part 2. This is basically the part where you address why the need/service is necessary, and you can summarize the bill. So this is an example. The need is reproductive health and gender affirming care are under attack. And the solution is, in Oregon, it is important that we protect in statute the right to access the full spectrum of reproductive health and gender affirming care via House Bill 2002. So in this sentence, you know, you see the clear solution, like what's in the bill. They named the bill number, which is really fantastic to really drill in that this is the bill that will help solve that or address this issue, at least in part. And yeah, it's just a very clear solution, pretty straightforward. Next slide, please. And then a simple call to action. What do you want the legislator to do? So just being really clear, do you want them to vote against a bill? Do you want them to vote for a bill? You know, in this case today, we have a lot of amazing bills and priorities that we want legislators to support, and we're going to ask them directly, will you support these bills? So here's an example. No one should be deprived of the right to vote. I ask you to support me and our communities by voting yes to move Senate Bill 579 out of committee. You know, if you were talking to a specific committee, this is what I would say. For today, you know, I'd say, ask you to support me and my communities by voting in favor of guaranteeing the right to vote, Senate Bill 579. And then next slide, please. And I believe I will pass it off to Jessica.
Yeah, thank you so much, Isabella. So what we'll do next is just, this is an example agenda of what today's lobby meetings will look like. And then after this, we'll have a chance to actually practice it before we go into our lobby meetings. So this is the gist, the what it'll look like today as you meet with your legislators. So you'll have a lobby lead that will introduce us, the folks around, and a little bit of the issues. And then we'll do some quick group introductions. You'll pass it around to each person. If you can do the same as if you were there in person, your name, your pronouns, and where you're visiting from, your district, if you know it. And then it'd be great if you could choose 1 to 2 of the priorities of why you care. And so this is where I like to say that people are remembered for how you make them feel. So make sure that you share your story, right? You can share as little or as much as you want. You just need to remember why it's important for you and others. And why do you care about this particular issue? And what can you uniquely share that no one else could tell them? Remember that you're the expert in the room. And of course, we want you to take care of yourself first and foremost. So share to the degree that you feel comfortable. That's the hard part of it. And then you have the brain part of it, the strategic part of it, where you're building a relationship with your legislator. You're building a relationship with also a decision maker, right? So you're connecting on shared values and ideals will be important for that conversation to go well. And try to leave it on a positive note. These issues can be sometimes scary, right? Both from a personal standpoint and then also for legislators. They may not want to talk about some of these things, but it's important that they hear from you and your vision of painting a better world that we can have if decision makers take action and have courage to take hard decisions. You will have all those one-pagers available to you in templates. And so at the end of the meeting, if it's okay with everybody, we'll take a group photo. So your lobby leads, we'll take a little screenshot. If you do not want to be part of that picture, just please turn off your camera so that you don't show up. Otherwise, it'd be great to have everybody that feels comfortable have a little snapshot of what it was meeting with those legislators today. Again, you know, you are the expert in the room. You are who legislators should be listening to. You are the community and the constituents. So show up with that authenticity and be courageous and be brave, to just be yourself and share your story to the degree you feel comfortable with, a manner that is effective and personal to you. And then some tips and tricks. So speak calm, stay at a calm pace and clearly with intention. Again, be confident with yourself and the issue. And this is really important. It's okay to not know the answer, right? I'm telling you that you're the expert in the room because you have that lived experience, because you care about this issue, but it's totally okay to not know the answer. And there's different ways to go about it. You can say, I can come back to you with an answer at a later time, or actually, I'll get one of the lobby experts or policy experts to talk to you. I'll write down that question for you. So it's okay. And feel free to be responsive, and you don't have to have all the answers. Arrived at your scheduled time, we're actually going to put you in a breakout room, so you don't need to worry about this. Just make sure that you know where you're going to be going. As soon as those breakout rooms come up, we're going to put it on the slides for you to be able to show where you should be going. And then it's important for you to also silence your phones, and if possible, your computer notifications. I know sometimes we have tech issues, but don't want to be in a meeting. These are only 15 minutes, so we want to take advantage of these meetings as much as possible, these 15-minute meetings as much as possible. So please silence your phone, keep your computers to notification, and make take this opportunity to be personal with your legislator at this time. And then no one person or organization should dominate the conversation. So we're all in this together. We do have some roles and folks can share. So just be cognizant of time. And as you're sharing your story, make sure that others have the space as well to share theirs. Perfect. So next we will, if you can go ahead and choose 1 to 2 bills that you'd like to advocate for today. You've heard a little bit about all of these, but you have the one-pagers available to you as well. So if you could write down, choose 1 to 2 bills that you're like, okay, this is the bill that I want to share my story on. This is the one I want to advocate on. This is the one that at the moment, it seems very important to me. So there's a plethora of choices here today. So we can make sure to choose those. And then we'll go ahead and practice, and we'll send you all to your breakout rooms to practice in groups. And this will likely also be the meeting that you will take, your group space that you will have with the first meeting of legislators. Yes, perfect. And when we practice, this is what we will be practicing in that room. Again, introducing yourself, getting acquainted with the group, 1 to 2 bills to advocate for in your lobby meeting, practice sharing your story and why you support a particular bill, and making that ask for your lobby lead questions.
So welcome back, everybody. I hope that everybody had an amazing time advocating for what they believe in and helping our democracy thrive. Advocating isn't always the easiest thing to do, so it does take courage, and I want to acknowledge that. You guys did amazing. So thank you for your conversations with your legislators and for your advocacy today. So before we let you go, we have some action alerts to share with you. One of them being about guaranteeing your right to vote. And that is SB 579. I have personally advocated for this and testified for this in I think the very first public hearing it had. And I have been supporting this ever since. It was one of the policies that I have worked on. It's really important that everybody in our community has a chance to talk and voice their opinions on democracy. It really does help. The removal of voting rights from Oregonians while they are incarcerated in a state prison is devastating to civil liberties. There are many states, I think 20 currently, that are considering making this change. And there are 2 that have already made this change. And those 2 are the 2 whitest states in the United States. Oregon can lead this in strengthening democracy with also a racial equity lens and a civil liberties lens. So expanding voting rights to incarcerated individuals will strengthen our democracy and align with Oregon's rich tradition to make voting inclusive and accessible. Oregon currently leads as one of the easiest places to vote, but that right is not accessible to everybody. So Oregon should really lead the way and trailblaze as we do. So yeah, join us in supporting Senate Bill 579 in both public hearings and the Ways and Means Committee.
Woo! I'm there.
Love it. Thank you. And Oshiki, do you want to share with us in this next slide some other ways that you have engaged in advocacy and other ways that we can engage? If we can get the next slide, please.
Yes. Okay. So one of the main ways that you can advocate is social media. It's really important to share your story and to engage with other people about spreading the word and like showing that you're supportive. Get your friends involved. Letters to editors is also really important in having more of a wider impact on your local community. So local newspapers, great way. If you're a youth, consider being a guest writer for your school's newspaper. It's a great way. I've worked on some articles before specific to legislation. Opinion editorials, also a great way, and spreading the word, showing that you as a community member care and getting other people engaged. Emailing and calling legislators, it's amazing because they are required to listen to you as a constituent. Show them that you care, show them this is what you want. Mailing postcards to elected officials. I mean, we all like getting postcards, but this one has purpose and meaning. So I think it's even better to talk to your legislators, email them, mail them, try to contact them in any ways. Go to community events as well. It's important to just get connected with the community, to share your story, share why you are engaged in advocacy and engaged in the policies. Because if you don't share your story, then you won't inspire other people to share their stories. So it takes one person and one person's courage to really make a revolution happen. So yeah. Some personal ways that I also think are really important is just like voting. I know there's a school board election coming up, and it's important that everybody pays attention because a lot of, although it's not related to legislation, I think it's important as well because a lot of local elections connect to these bigger priorities as well as state elections. So yeah, make sure to get involved, sign up to testify, and get your friends involved as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Oshiki, for being with us. This whole legislative session, couldn't have done it without you. Appreciate all the support and everyone making the time today. Thanks, everyone. Have a lovely night.